Good evening, fellow adventurers. Today we're talking about simplifying life and how sometimes you can have problems and you first of all start thinking, well, how do I solve the problem? How do I fix it? And then maybe the easier question is to ask, how do I just get rid of the problem? And to illustrate this, I was talking to my boss earlier, and he's a friend as well. So we just talk about kind of what's going on in his life. And he was talking about how on his property, he has a job which is fairly demanding in some situations, and then he comes home and he's got other responsibilities that he has to take care of, like mowing the lawn and doing upkeep on his property. And then he's starting to think, well, gee, what am I doing? Because I have worked hard to have a job that adds stress, and then I've taken the money from my job and I've bought things that actually add more responsibilities. So then his time off feels like it's just a second job because he's got to keep on working to maintain all of the stuff that he's been layering on. So he can't just go home and relax. He's got to go home and mow his yard and take care of his property and do all that stuff. And at some point, he kind of just realized, well, I think I'm going to downsize because it's just too much. And one person can't do all of it. He can't manage his property and manage his family and manage his job and his career and all these different goals and have anything left for himself. And sometimes we bite off too much. We're always trying to get more. And then we wind up without enough time to enjoy the things that we already have. And simpler is better in many situations. But we live in a world where quite often we're sold solutions to problems. We're not really given an option to just exit and leave our problems behind. But sometimes you don't need to fix things. You just need to move on. Just like the property that's big and requires a lot of maintenance. Maybe you don't need that big of a property. Now, sometimes you can't avoid having certain responsibilities in life. Like if you have kids, you got to take care of your kids. But what if you had a pet? Do you have to have a pet? No, not really. But people do all the time. They get a pet and then they feel like they have to take care of this animal. Now suddenly they can't go on a vacation. You can't go on a work trip without figuring out who's going to take care of the dog. You have to start repairing damage because the animal is destroying things. You have to invest in a whole lot of other things like new vacuum cleaners and extra chores, taking care of the animal all the time. And the reality is all of it is just extra stuff that you've layered on. You don't have to do that. But then once you've signed up for it, then you gotta vacuum the house twice a week. Because if you don't, then everything's covered in dog hair. But you did that to yourself, right? Like nobody said you had to have a dog. It's fine if you want to have a dog, sure, go for it. I like dogs. Dogs can be good companions. They can be fun. But it doesn't change the fact that everything you add to your life that requires maintenance just adds a little bit of mental baggage. Then after a while, you start to feel overwhelmed because everything is a problem that you have to work. Everything is something that is adding to the list of things that you have to maintain in your life before you can be finished up and be free. It's kind of like if you play an MMO and you have dailies. And it's cool. It's cool to have dailies, little things that you do every day, a reason to log on. But it's not cool when you can't actually ever get to the main story quest. You can't do the content of the game because you always feel like you have to do your daily grind. So you log in, you do your daily, and then at that point you're just kind of tired of it, so you log out. And then you realize that years have passed and you never actually finished the main content of the game because you never actually got past doing your dailies. Well, at some point you got to stop doing the dailies so that you can actually do the primary content of the game. And in life, the primary content of the game is to just enjoy your life. And sometimes we do have to solve problems. Sometimes we do have to work on things, absolutely. But if your entire life is spent working problems and you never actually just enjoy your life, then maybe you need to divest yourself of some of those and figure out a way to just leave behind the things that are chronically keeping you from having a sense of peace of mind. And there's a lot of people who will think that being busy is sort of like a badge of honor. It's proof that they are important on some level. If you're busy, you can brag about it to people and you can say, oh, look how busy I am. I never have a chance to take a break. But being busy doesn't automatically mean that you're successful, especially if you're busy doing largely meaningless things that you've added to your plate yourself. You know, there's people who they go to work and they struggle with time management, or they struggle to set clear boundaries, and then they wind up working ridiculously long hours. They're always working on their day off. They're always working past when they should be going home. And then they will use that as proof that they're one of the most valuable employees. But the reality is that's just proof that they don't set clear boundaries and don't manage their time very well. Because the more productive people are oftentimes people who are not necessarily skipping their time off. They're not necessarily burning both ends of the candle all the time. And again, it doesn't mean that you never give extra. It doesn't mean that you always are watching the clock and at 5:01 you're out the door. But it's important to have priorities in your life. And filling your life with busyness doesn't automatically mean that you're having a successful life. To the contrary, many times the more successful people have more time because they set priorities. They know what matters and what doesn't matter. And the things that don't matter, they let those things go so that they really have time for things which actually are important. I had a fish tank full of plants. I've had it in my living room for quite a while. I thought it would be a good idea to take these plants I had and put them into a fish tank. So I did that. And that was fine. They lived in there for quite a while. And then recently I realized that there were these little centipede looking bugs inside there in the soil. And I really don't want to live in a house that's infested with insects. I don't really want mold growing places. So I started to have this feeling that the soil was just not really right. And there's probably mold growing in the soil because it doesn't drain super well. And there's these bugs in the soil. And I thought, well, I wonder how do I fix that? How do I get rid of these bugs? And how do I, take care of the soil? And then I thought, why am I even worrying about this? Like, I don't need to have these 4 straggly looking plants growing in a fish tank. So I just took the fish tank and the bugs and the dirt and the old plants and threw it in the dumpster and was done with it. And I thought to myself, yeah, I'm sure I could find a solution. I could be repotting these plants. I could figure it out. Yeah, 100% I could. Or I could just take that one little thing and say, you know what? I'm going to simplify my life and I'm going to get rid of the plants. I'm sure somebody's going to say, oh my goodness, how could you get rid of plants, But I don't really need to have them. That's just the bottom line. It's one less thing that I have to worry about. It's one less thing I have to water. It's one less thing I have to move if I ever move. It's one less thing that's going to contribute to my apartment having bugs in it or having mold growing in it, right? Like it's just a little thing. I don't really have to find a solution to. I can just simplify my life and not worry about it and just get rid of the problem. So sometimes you don't have to fix every problem you encounter. Sometimes you can just say, you know what? I'm not going to allow this to be a problem in my life. I'm going to move on. I'm going to pick my battles, and not every single thing that is a problem needs to be fixed. Sometimes you just let go of things, get rid of them. And you find that that's liberating, because then you have a little bit more energy to pour into things that actually are important in your life. If you have family, then maybe you get rid of some of those extra hobbies that you don't enjoy. And, maybe you do live in an apartment. You don't have a yard. You don't have to spend your time mowing the yard. And does that mean that you can't go outside? No, maybe you could take the family to the park. Maybe you would spend more time outside because now you could go out and be in nature instead of spending your time mowing the lawn. Maybe you could spend time buying a nice gift for your spouse or something instead of going to the Home Depot to spend a few $100s on stuff you need to kill moss or dandelions. Like life can just be easier when you simplify it. And everyone is in a different situation, of course. It's not to say that you should get rid of things that bring joy into your life. It's just not every single thing is something that you have to keep on maintaining. Sometimes it's okay to let that subscription expire. Sometimes it's okay to let go of something that you've had for a while. Sometimes it's okay to just take a pile of stuff and go down to the Goodwill and give it away. Because you know what? It's sat there. It hasn't really added value to your life. It's just been a thing sitting there. And then it's one more thing that you have to organize. And I think sometimes we don't have a lot of control over what we can add in our life. Because if you want something, you have to find it, right? So you can't always get the relationships you want in your life. You can't always get the job that you want. You can't always have every outcome that you would hope for, because getting what you want is dependent on a lot of circumstances which aren't necessarily within your control. But you can always choose to get rid of something. You can always choose to let something go. And I think that that's a really powerful thing to realize, because, you know, it's like if I wanted to increase my salary, well, maybe I could work up and get a promotion. Maybe I could quit my job and find another job. Maybe I could invest my money and get a return in the stock market or something like that. But those are all unknowns. What I absolutely can do is cut out some expenses. So while I'm waiting on things that are possibly beyond my control, I can have a sense of empowerment and a sense of being in control by controlling the things which are within my power. And oftentimes those things are more impactful in the end. So before you proceed to spend a lot of time trying to fix every small thing that comes your way, ask yourself the question of whether you even really need to fix the problem at all. You know, I've come to realize in the workplace, I don't spend a lot of time worrying about fixing other people's problems, because I've learned when you spend a lot of time being attentive to other people's problems, they start to stop trying to solve their own problems, and they start coming to you as an easy solution. So I look for opportunities to kind of avoid getting involved. It doesn't mean that I don't do my job. It's just I don't want people to think that I am the first stop on their path to seek out a solution to every problem. I want them to try to solve their problems on their own. And then if there's something that I need to do, then I'm a resource. But when you're always there to invest 100% of your energy into every problem that comes your way, after a while, you're going to be totally surrounded by problems. So surrounded that you're working 80 hours a week trying to solve everything. And it just seems like more and more gets layered. Sometimes less is more. Sometimes if you want to make big steps forward, the best thing you can do is to stop putting so much energy into trying to get ahead. It's kind of like quicksand. If you've ever seen an animal stuck in there, the more they flail around and struggle and try to get out, the deeper in they go. Eventually they're very stuck, and they're maybe hopelessly stuck in the quicksand, because the more they try to fight it, the more it tightens its grasp on every part of their life, right? So always try to get where you want to go. But remember that sometimes the best way to go there, sometimes the best way to get the things you want in life, is to let go of things that are distracting you. Let go of the things that are non-essential. And then use that free energy that you have to be more present in the important things which remain. As always, thanks so much for watching. In your life, what have you found that maybe has been a distraction? Is there anything that comes to mind that you think you should give up so that you have more personal time or mental power to devote to something more meaningful. I'd love to hear your thoughts. In any case, till next time, thanks for watching.